What happens when human greed crosses paths with an ancient, unstoppable forest god? You don't get a typical superhero movie. You don't get a polished, CGI-drenched blockbuster with capes and catchphrases. No. What you get instead is something far more raw, far more brutal, and far more terrifying than anything Hollywood has produced in years. You get a masterpiece that crawls under your skin, grabs your soul, and refuses to let go. Welcome to the ninth reel. My name doesn't matter, the movie does. And today, we are breaking down a cinematic phenomenon that didn't just shake the Indian box office. It obliterated it. It made grown men weep in theaters. It made international critics sit up and take notice. It made audiences around the world ask one simple question: what on earth did I just witness? The movie is called Kantara, and if you haven't seen it yet, buckle up, because by the end of this video, you will not be able to resist pressing play. Now, before we dive into the madness that is this film, you need to understand one very important thing. This is not Bollywood. I repeat, this is not Bollywood. When most people around the world think of Indian cinema, they think of Bollywood. They think of song and dance sequences, colorful costumes, and dramatic love triangles set against the backdrop of Mumbai. And look, there is absolutely nothing wrong with Bollywood. It has produced some incredible films over the decades. But India is not just Bollywood. India has over 20 distinct film industries, each operating in a different language, each with its own storytelling tradition, each with its own unique flavor. And Kantara comes from one of the most powerful and underrated of them all. It comes from the southern state of Karnataka, from an industry known as sandalwood, which produces films in the Kannada language. Now here is where it gets really interesting. The word Kantara literally translates to mystical forest. And that title is not just a name, it is a warning, it is a promise. It tells you exactly what you are about to walk into. A world where the forest is not just a setting. The forest is a living, breathing character. The forest has rules. The forest has a god. And if you break those rules, the forest will come for you. This movie is deeply, profoundly rooted in local folklore. Specifically, it draws from a centuries-old tradition called Bhoota Kola. Now, if you have never heard of Bhoota Kola, let me paint the picture for you. Imagine a dark night in a remote village in coastal Karnataka. Fires are burning. Drums are pounding so hard you can feel them in your chest. The entire village has gathered in a circle, their eyes wide, their breath held. And then, a man steps forward. But he is no longer just a man. He is covered in elaborate body paint. He is wearing a towering headdress. His eyes are wild, unfocused, almost inhuman. Because in that moment, according to the belief of these communities, he is no longer himself. He has become a vessel, a channel, a medium through which the local deity, the local spirit, speaks directly to the people. This is Bhoota Kola. It is not performance. It is not theater. For the people who practice it, this is as real as the ground beneath their feet. The spirit enters the human body, delivers justice, settles disputes, blesses the faithful, and warns the wicked. It is raw, it is ancient, it is sacred, and it is absolutely electrifying to witness. The director of Kantara is a man named Rishab Shetty. And here is what makes this even more remarkable. Rishab Shetty did not just direct this film, he also wrote the screenplay, he also produced it, and he also plays the lead role. This man poured every single ounce of his being into this project. He grew up in this region. He grew up hearing these stories. He grew up watching Bhoota Kola rituals with his own eyes. He didn't research this culture from the outside like an academic or a tourist. He lived it. He breathed it. He carried it in his blood. And when he decided to make Kantara, he didn't just make a movie. He took a centuries-old culture, a tradition that most of the world had never heard of, and he brought it roaring to life on the big screen with a ferocity and authenticity that left audiences absolutely speechless. This is not a man who made a film for box office numbers. This is a man who made a film because the story demanded to be told. Now let me walk you through the story. And I want to be very careful here, because I am not going to spoil the experience for you. I am going to give you just enough to understand the stakes, the conflict, and the sheer brilliance of how this narrative unfolds. But the magic of Kantara, the thing that hits you like a freight train, that has to be experienced firsthand. So consider this your guided entry point into the world of the film. The story begins in the past. Centuries ago, in a remote forested region of Karnataka, a local king made a sacred pact with the tribal people who lived in the forest. The deal was simple but profound. The king would give the forest-dwelling communities a piece of land. A demigod stone idol, a divine artifact representing the local deity, would be handed over. In return, the tribal people would live in peace, protect the forest, worship the deity, and maintain the sacred balance between man and nature. This was not a legal contract signed on paper. This was a spiritual covenant, a divine agreement witnessed by the gods themselves. And for generations, it held. The people lived in harmony with the forest. The deity protected them. The land provided for them. And the balance was maintained. Now fast forward to the 1990s. Everything has changed. The descendants of that original king want the land back. They see the forest not as a sacred space, but as real estate, as an opportunity, as wealth waiting to be extracted. They don't care about ancient pacts. They don't care about spiritual covenants. They care about power and property. At the same time, a new character enters the picture. A strict, no-nonsense forest officer named Murali, who has been assigned to this region by the government. Murali is not a villain in the traditional sense. He is a man who believes in the law. He believes in rules. He believes in conservation, in protecting the forest through government regulations. But here is the problem. His version of protecting the forest clashes directly with the tribal people's way of life. He wants to restrict their access to the forest. He wants to enforce boundaries. He wants to impose modern systems on a community that has lived by ancient ones for centuries. And in doing so, he unknowingly threatens the very balance that has kept this land sacred. And right in the middle of this explosive collision stands our protagonist, Shiva, played by Rishab Shetty himself. And let me tell you something about Shiva. He is not your typical movie hero. He is not polished. He is not sophisticated. He is not the kind of guy who delivers smooth one-liners and walks away from explosions in slow motion. Shiva is rough. Shiva is wild. Shiva is a man of the earth. He drinks too much. He picks fights. He dances at local festivals like his body is on fire. He wrestles in the mud with a reckless abandon that makes you wonder if this man has a death wish. He is fiercely loyal to his people, to his land, to his traditions. But he is also deeply conflicted. Because Shiva carries a weight he doesn't fully understand. There is something inside him, something ancient, something that connects him to the deity, to the forest, to the pact that was made centuries ago. And as the conflict around him intensifies, as the king's descendant pushes harder for the land, as the forest officer tightens his grip, Shiva begins to unravel. Or perhaps more accurately, he begins to awaken. The beauty of this story is that it operates on multiple levels simultaneously. On the surface, it is a land dispute drama, a conflict between corporate greed, government authority, and indigenous rights. That alone would make for a compelling film. But beneath that surface, there is something much deeper, something primal, something spiritual. The film asks a question that resonates far beyond India. What happens when we forget our connection to the land? What happens when we break sacred promises? What happens when we try to cage something divine? And the answer, as Kantara delivers it, is absolutely devastating. Now let me talk about what makes Kantara not just a good movie, but a genuine masterpiece. Because the story, as powerful as it is only one piece of the puzzle. The way this film is crafted, from a technical and artistic standpoint, is nothing short of extraordinary. Let us start with the atmosphere. From the very first frame, Kantara pulls you into its world and refuses to let you leave. The forest in this film is not a backdrop. It is not scenery. It is a character. It breathes. It watches. It whispers. The cinematography captures the dense, suffocating beauty of the Karnataka forest in a way that makes you feel like you are physically inside it. You can almost smell the wet earth after rain. You can feel the humidity clinging to your skin. You can sense the thousands of unseen eyes, animal, and perhaps something else entirely, watching from the darkness between the trees. The camera moves through this landscape with a deliberate, almost predatory slowness that creates an atmosphere of constant simmering unease. Something is coming. You can feel it. You just don't know what. And then there is the sound design. Oh, the sound design. If I could point to one single element that elevates Kantara from a great film to an unforgettable experience, it is the sound. The composer B. Ajanish Loknath created a soundscape that is, and I do not use this word lightly, haunting. The tribal drums don't just accompany the scenes, they invade them. They start low, almost subliminal, a rhythmic pulse that mirrors your own heartbeat. And then, as the tension builds, they grow louder, faster, more insistent, until they are pounding inside your skull like a war cry from another dimension. Layered on top of this are sounds pulled directly from the natural world and from the ritual traditions of the region. Wild animal calls that echo through the forest at night, the guttural, primal screams of the Bhoota Kola performers, the eerie, high-pitched wailing of ceremonial chants that sound like they are coming from somewhere between this world and the next. It is not music in the traditional sense. It is sonic warfare. It is designed to bypass your rational mind and speak directly to something ancient and instinctual buried deep inside you. And it works. God, does it work? Now, let us talk about the performances. Rishab Shetty as Shiva delivers what many critics and audiences have called one of the greatest performances in Indian cinema history. And I understand that is a bold statement. India has produced legendary actors. But what Rishab Shetty does in this film is something that goes beyond acting. In the first half of the movie, he is magnetic as the rowdy, charismatic, larger-than-life village man. He dances with an energy that is infectious. He fights with a raw physicality that feels genuinely dangerous. He laughs with an openness that makes you love him instantly. But it is in the second half, and especially in the climax, where he transcends everything you thought was possible in a performance. His eyes change. His body language shifts. His voice takes on a quality that is no longer entirely human. Watching him in the final act, you genuinely forget you are watching an actor. You believe in that moment that something divine has entered this man. And that is not just good acting, that is possession of the craft at its highest possible level. The film also deserves enormous credit for its portrayal of the wild boar. Yes, you heard me right. A wild boar becomes one of the most terrifying and symbolic elements in the entire movie. In the folklore that Kantara draws from, certain animals are considered sacred. They are vessels, protectors, manifestations of divine energy. The wild boar in this film is treated not as a simple animal, but as an omen, as a force of nature. The scenes involving the boar are shot with such intensity, such visceral impact, that they rival any horror film creature sequence you have ever seen. It is a masterclass in building tension through suggestion, through sound, through the sheer primal fear of confronting something wild and untamable. And let us not overlook the cultural authenticity. One of the reasons Kantara resonated so deeply with Indian audiences, particularly in southern India, is because it treats its source culture with absolute reverence. There is no exoticization. There is no dilution for mainstream appeal. The Bhoota Kola rituals depicted in the film are portrayed with a level of accuracy and respect that left communities in Karnataka feeling seen and honored. Rishab Shetty consulted extensively with local practitioners, with cultural historians, with village elders who carry the oral traditions of these rituals. Every detail, from the body paint patterns to the specific drum rhythms to the way the performer moves during the ritual, is rooted in reality. And that authenticity is what gives the film its extraordinary power. You are not watching a Hollywood approximation of an exotic culture. You are watching the real thing, channeled through the medium of cinema with breathtaking skill. Now we arrive at the part of this video where I have to choose my words very, very carefully. Because the final 20 minutes of Kantara are something I refuse to spoil for you. I will not do it. It would be a disservice to you, to the film, and to the experience that awaits you if you go in without knowing what is about to hit you. But I will tell you this much. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, in the first 90 minutes of this film can prepare you for what happens at the end. Nothing in any other film you have watched this year can prepare you. The climax of Kantara is not just a scene. It is not just a sequence. It is an event. It is a collective experience that made entire theaters erupt. And I am not talking about polite applause. I am talking about audiences standing on their feet, screaming, crying, throwing things in the air, chanting along with the film as if they were part of the ritual happening on screen. There are viral videos from theaters across India showing audiences reacting to the climax of Kantara, and every single one of them looks like a stadium during a championship-winning goal. That is the level of impact we are talking about. The climax blurs the line between human and divine in a way that is almost impossible to describe with words. It is chaotic and controlled at the same time. It is terrifying and beautiful simultaneously. It is deeply spiritual and viscerally physical in equal measure. Rishab Shetty's performance in the final minutes is something that will be studied in acting classes for decades. His transformation is so complete, so total, so utterly convincing that you will question whether what you are watching is cinema or something else entirely. The camera work becomes frantic, almost desperate, as if the cinematographer himself was struggling to capture what was unfolding. The sound builds to a crescendo that feels like the earth itself is splitting open. And when it hits its peak, when the final revelation lands, it does not just resolve the story. It elevates the entire film into something transcendent. I have watched a lot of movies, thousands of them, from every country, every genre, every era, and I can count on one hand the number of climaxes that have affected me the way Kantara's did. If you love cinema that pushes boundaries, if you love films like Apocalypto, where Mel Gibson dropped you into an ancient civilization and made you feel every single moment of its beauty and brutality, this film is for you. If you love The Revenant, where Alejandro Iñárritu used the raw, unforgiving power of nature as both setting and antagonist, this film is for you. If you love Tumbbad, the Indian dark fantasy horror film that proved Indian cinema could create atmospheric masterpieces that rival anything in the world, this film is absolutely for you. If you love movies that don't just entertain you but change something inside you, that leave a mark on your soul, that make you sit in silence after the credits roll because you need a moment to process what just happened, then you must, and I cannot stress this enough, you must watch Kantara. It is available with subtitles. It is accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world. You do not need to understand the Kannada language. You do not need to be familiar with Indian culture. The emotions, the themes, the raw human experience at the heart of this film are universal. The conflict between progress and tradition, the tension between authority and freedom, the question of what we owe to the land that sustains us. These are not Indian questions. These are human questions. And Kantara answers them in a way that will leave you breathless. So here is my question to you. Have you watched Kantara yet? If you have, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now and tell me what the climax did to you. Tell me about that moment when everything clicked. Tell me if you screamed, if you cried, if you sat in stunned silence. And if you haven't watched it yet, come back to this video after you do, because I guarantee you will have something to say. If you are new to this channel, here is what we do at The Ninth Reel. We don't just review movies. We break down cinematic masterpieces from every corner of the globe. Bollywood, Tollywood, Korean cinema, Japanese animation, European art house, African storytelling. If it is great cinema, we cover it. So, if you want to discover the best films the world has to offer, films that your algorithm will never show you, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the bell notification so you never miss a video. Share this with someone who loves movies. And most importantly, go watch Kantara. You can thank me later. This is the 9th reel. I'll see you in the next movie.